The old hospital wing was always the worst part of the night shift. A place where time seemed to slow down, where the air hung heavy with memories. It was my turn to do the final rounds, just after 2 a.m. The main wards were settling into that deep, pre-dawn quiet, but here, in the decommissioned pediatric wing, the silence was different. It was a listening silence, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. I pushed the heavy fire door open, its groan echoing down the long linoleum hallway. The only light came from the dim yellow emergency lamps spaced far apart, casting long dancing shadows that played tricks on your eyes. My footsteps were the only sound, the soft squeak of my trainers on the polished floor. That, and the distant lonely beep of a heart monitor from the active ward. A faint rhythmic pulse that was more ghost than machine from this far away. I started my check, peering through the small glass windows in each door. Room 401, empty, bed stripped, mattress bare. Room 402, the same. The air grew colder as I walked deeper into the wing. It was a strange, damp cold that had nothing to do with the hospital's climate control and everything to do with the feeling of being somewhere you shouldn't be. They used to say this wing was closed down due to budget cuts, but the older nurses, the ones who had been here for decades, they told different stories. Stories of things that happened that couldn't be explained by science or medicine. I paused outside room 403, my hand on the cool metal of the door handle. This was the room everyone talked about, the one where a little girl named Lily had passed away years ago. Complications from pneumonia. But the whispers in the break room painted a different picture. They said she never really left. I always brushed it off as late-night caffeine-fueled folklore. It's easy to be brave in the daylight. As I moved on, a sound pricked the silence. It was faint, almost imperceptible. A child's giggle, soft, airy, and utterly out of place. I stopped dead in my tracks, my heart suddenly hammering against my ribs. I strained my ears, listening. Nothing. Just the hum of the old building and the distant beep, beep, beep. I shook my head. "You're tired, Sarah," I muttered to myself. "You're just hearing things. It wasn't uncommon. After a 12-hour shift, your mind can play all sorts of tricks on you." I continued my walk, trying to dismiss it, my pace a little faster now. I passed room 404, 405. Almost at the end of the hall. I was just about to turn back, my shift nearly over, when a flash of red light caught my eye. High above the door to room 407, the nurse call light was on. A solid, insistent red glow in the gloom. My blood ran cold. I froze, staring at it. That was impossible. This entire wing was decommissioned. The power to the call systems had been cut years ago. I knew that for a fact. I'd seen the maintenance reports myself. Every room in this wing was empty. I had just checked them. I even double-checked the wing roster before starting my round. Empty, empty, empty. All the way down, room 407 was supposed to be vacant, just like all the others. My first thought was a fault in the wiring. A short circuit, maybe. Some residual charge in the system, firing off a random signal. It had to be a logical explanation. There's always a logical explanation. But as I stood there, staring at that unwavering red light, a different sound reached me. The giggle again, closer this time. It sounded like it was coming from right behind the door of room 47. My training, my professional duty, told me I had to check it out. An activated call light, no matter how impossible, had to be investigated. But every primal instinct in my body was screaming at me to turn around, to walk away, to run and not look back. My hand trembled as I reached for the door handle. It was ice-cold to the touch, so cold it felt like it was burning my skin. I took a deep, shaky breath and pushed the door open. The room was pitch black, darker than the hallway, and the cold intensified, washing over me in a wave. It was a deep, penetrating cold that settled in my bones. The air was thick and stagnant, smelling of dust and something else, something faintly sweet, like old, dried flowers. My eyes struggled to adjust to the darkness. Slowly, shapes began to emerge from the gloom. A single bed against the far wall, a small nightstand, a chair, and a window, covered by a thin white curtain. The curtain was swaying. A slow, gentle back-and-forth motion, but the window was sealed shut. I could see the latches from where I stood. There was no draft, no breeze. The air in the room was perfectly still, heavy and unmoving. Yet the curtain danced on its own, a silent, ghostly waltz in the darkness. My heart was a frantic drum in my ears. I took a hesitant step inside. my trainers making no sound on the dusty floor. My gaze was drawn to the bed. It was neatly made, a thin blanket pulled up to a single flat pillow, and on the nightstand next to the bed, I saw it. The nurse call button. The cord was coiled neatly, but the red button at the end was fully depressed, jammed down as if a small, determined hand was still pressing it. That's when I heard the whisper. It wasn't a word, just a sound. A soft, cold exhalation right next to my ear. It was the sound of a small child sighing, a breath so cold it felt like a shard of ice against my skin. Play with me. I didn't scream. I couldn't. The sound was trapped in my throat, a choked, silent gasp. Pure, undiluted terror seized me, rooting me to the spot. My body went rigid. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I could feel a presence in the room with me, something small and ancient and not of this world. The sweet smell of flowers intensified, becoming cloying, suffocating. I felt a faint tug on the hem of my scrubs, a light, playful pluck of the fabric. That was what broke the spell. Adrenaline surged through me, hot and sharp. I stumbled backward, my legs clumsy and uncooperative. My back hit the doorframe, and I scrambled out into the relative safety of the hallway, pulling the door shut behind me with a loud bang that echoed like a gunshot. I didn't wait to see if the light went out. I turned and ran. I ran faster than I've ever run in my life, my breath coming in ragged, panicked sobs. I didn't stop until I burst through the fire doors and was back in the brightly lit, modern section of the hospital, the familiar, comforting sounds of the active ward surrounding me. My colleagues looked up, startled, as I leaned against the wall, gasping for air, my face pale and my body shaking uncontrollably. I never told anyone what really happened. I couldn't. How could I explain it? A faulty light? A draft? A cold whisper? They would have thought I was crazy, that I'd finally cracked under the pressure of the night shift. I finished my shift in a daze, and when I clocked out, I never came back. I couldn't. Sometimes, when I'm trying to sleep, I can still feel that unnatural cold. I can still see that curtain swaying in the still, dark room. And sometimes, in the dead of night, when the house is quiet, I think I can hear it. Faint, distant, but unmistakable. The sound of a little girl's laughter echoing from a place I can never, ever go back to. Thanks for watching. If you have your own chilling story from a late night shift, share it in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more tales from the dark. Stay safe out there.